Dear friends, I welcome you to my channel. I am Taras Berezovets. Today, I want to discuss the latest news regarding the statements made during the 16th BRICS summit. In particular, the dictator of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, openly communicated for the first time with a British broadcasting corporation, and he further elaborated why Russia invaded Ukraine from the territory of Belarus. I don't think I'll surprise you much, as once again Potato Duccio has lied. Moreover, he expressed a desire to normalize relations with the West. Indeed, as always, he has remained true to himself. Today, the State Duma of the Russian Federation ratified the agreement on comprehensive strategic partnership between Russia and North Korea. Russian propaganda media have eagerly begun to praise the North Korean military. Thus, the propaganda revealed the main secret by acknowledging the presence of the North Korean army on the territory of the Russian Federation. I remind you that Russia's official position is to deny everything and lie. There are supposedly no North Korean military personnel on Russian territory, and there cannot be. In Seoul, North Korean soldiers were referred to as mercenary cannon fodder. Congress has demanded the Biden administration take immediate retaliatory military measures. In the event that the North Korean army potentially enters the territory of Ukraine, this was stated by the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee of the U.S. Congress, Mike Turner. Restless, Mike. Meanwhile, the policy reported that 7 countries are opposed to Ukraine's membership in NATO. What are these countries? Kazakhstan has officially stated that it refuses to assist Russia due to international sanctions. This is the official position of Kazakhstan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which has been announced. Expenses for Russia's war in Ukraine increased in the following years: 25, 26, and 27. In the budget project for the next year, military expenditures will exceed 6% of GDP. Biden will have 76 days left in office after the presidential elections to change the course of the war. This is reported by the Washington Post. And finally, NATO Deputy Secretary General Boris Rugin stated what Putin's goal regarding Ukraine is. Friends, we will discuss all of this further. But let's start with another piece of news. The news that came out today, initiated by Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorsky, involves his appeal to the German leadership with a proposal to deprive Ukrainian refugees of relevant social benefits to motivate their deployment to the front. He stated that the social benefits received by Ukrainian refugees in Germany would be better directed to Ukraine. The discussion is about financial assistance averaging €1,200 per month. He stated that such benefits create an incentive for Ukrainian men to stay in Germany, whereas the men could be fighting and the women could be rebuilding the economy. This is not the first similar statement. Previously, a number of other European politicians have also put forward similar initiatives, particularly politicians in Germany. The United States has recognized President Zelensky's victory plan as a failure, writes the leading British publication The Economist. This plan was particularly unpopular among officials in Washington due to the tone, which should be interpreted as a means of coercing Russia. For negotiations with Ukraine on more favorable terms for Kiev, the plan itself is perceived as a wish list on the provision of more weapons and the lifting of restrictions on the use of long-range missiles. Then they report, according to sources from the publication, the plan, as stated by one of the sources from The Economist, is, as per, doomed to fail. The problem is that they do not speak directly to the president about it, face to face. Meanwhile, Russian propaganda continues to praise North Korean military personnel, who, of course, officially do not exist on Russian territory, they claim. But here propaganda has once again missed the mark. In particular, one of the leading Russian propaganda publications, Moskovsky Komsomolets, in the article The Armed Forces of Ukraine in Anxious Anticipation as the First Soldiers from North Korea Arrive in the Kursk region, praises them, explaining that they are not demanding. They can masterfully disguise themselves. They are motivated and trained, well trained, but when it comes to their use, the problem arises. Absolutely straightforward. Use them as highly effective stormtroopers, that is, for local assaults. Moreover, as Kremlin propagandists write, there is a rule of 3 generations in the North Korean army. I became interested in what this rule of 3 generations is. It turns out that when we see North Korean soldiers like those with such an iconostasis covered in medals up to their waist, it's not always the case. Sometimes, yes, it really is. Photoshop and memes, and very often this corresponds to reality, as it is normal and permitted for North Koreans to wear awards earned by 3 generations, as well as to enjoy privileges that were obtained by their ancestors. But there is a rule that if someone from North Korea commits a crime or behaves improperly, not only will they be held accountable, but also 2 of their future generations. They may end up in a concentration camp. Well, I mentioned the day before that, according to South Korean intelligence, the relatives of North Korean soldiers who were transferred to Russia have already been isolated in concentration camps. This information was also confirmed today by South Korean intelligence, which referred to North Korean soldiers as mercenary cannon fodder. In fact, the leadership of South Korea accused North Korea of selling its soldiers to participate in an aggressive war. This was stated by the Minister of Defense of South Korea, Kim Yong-hyun. If troops are sent abroad, the South Korean Minister of Defense stated, they usually follow the command chain of their country and proudly perform their duties in uniform under their flag. But North Korean soldiers are disguising themselves in Russian uniforms and acting under Russian command without any operational authority. The leadership of South Korea has threatened. In response to any possible reactions, they stated that they can be absolutely. North Korea will very closely monitor Russia's reaction. This will not in any way constitute a threat to security, added the Minister of Defense of South Korea. In the U.S. Congress, there have been calls for the Biden administration to take direct bomb military measures. In response to the possible deployment of North Korean military personnel to Russia, a Republican congressman made a statement about this. Mike Turner stated that the Biden administration must declare that the entry of North Korean troops into this conflict is a red line for the United States. It is necessary to seriously consider the possibility of taking direct military measures against North Korean troops. That is, Mike Turner is demanding direct military measures from the administration of the current President of the United States. In fact, this refers to his letter. He talks about striking North Korean military forces. He suggests to unleash their hands. And this is possible. According to the Washington Post, if Biden uses the remaining 76 days of his presidency to change the course of the war, what did the leading American publication write? It demands that Biden act more boldly after the elections, regardless of which candidate wins. The author of the publication, Lee Hochstadter, reminds that Biden will have almost 80 days left, and these days should be used to give Ukraine permission to strike Russian territory with Army tactical missiles of the ATACMS system, and also not to fear retaliatory escalation from the Russian Federation. Meanwhile, as the Washington Post reports, Washington and its allies were biting their nails, trying to formulate their actions. The Kremlin acted, and now it is necessary to urgently respond to the aggression from Russia. Moscow. At the recently concluded 16th summit of the BRICS organization, which, as I explained the day before, was not a diplomatic triumph for Putin. Despite all the attempts by the Kremlin to turn BRICS into an anti-American and anti-NATO organization, everything unfolded according to a completely different scenario amid the corresponding hysteria. In particular, the authorities of Kazakhstan stated that they will not help Russia circumvent sanctions. This was stated by the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Kazakhstan, Roman Vasilenko. He stated that Kazakhstan has not imposed sanctions against Russia and has not joined the sanctions against Russia. At the same time, we do not want our territory to be used to circumvent sanctions. He also mentioned that the position of the official Astana is known and clear. It is understood both in Russia and in the West. Thus, Kazakhstan has clearly stated that it will act in line with those countries, particularly Turkey, that have refused to continue as transit states. Well, it's true, there will be traps here too. They shifted the blame. Officially, when Kazakhstan was caught helping Russia with our association regime, they claimed that supposedly 2 Kazakh companies were involved, which turned out to be shell companies. Well, agree that it's convenient to smuggle sanctioned goods worth hundreds of millions of dollars into Russia, and then claim that this was done by the companies from Adanivka, and we are thus covering up this whole story. However, Kazakhstan is currently being watched very closely. extremely closely by the West. Their statement that they will no longer help Russia avoid sanctions is a clear indicator that things have not gone according to plan for the leadership of Kazakhstan. As they say, the good old money has run out, and now it helps Russia, without consequences. Buying prohibited goods is no longer possible. Electronics will not be obtainable anymore. They will come up with something else. If necessary, there are alternatives. Other states, Kyrgyzstan, also from Pala, but there is Kyrgyzstan, which continues as before, to help, as well as a number of other states friendly to Russia. And of course, we should not forget about China. Meanwhile, the potato dictator Alexander Lukashenko communicated not only with the Russian propagandist Olga Skopayeva, but also with BBC journalist Stephen Rosenberg. This is essentially a star of British journalism who continues to remain in Russia and produces quite candid, exposing stories for the Kremlin leadership. Rosenberg asked him questions related to the reasons for the invasion of Ukraine from the territory of Belarus, and what Alexander Lukashenko responded to this. He stated that he has never communicated with either Putin, Shoigu, or the new Minister of Defense Andrei Belousov regarding the provision of Belarusian troops for the war in Ukraine. Moreover, he stated that at some point, Putin simply redirected part of his troops to Kiev. I am sure they were provoked. He could have taken them out through Kiev, or he could have gone through Minsk. However, Putin did not call me, said Lukashenko, and did not ask for permission on where to withdraw the troops. Well, as they say, it's a somewhat absurd comment in the style of Alexander Lukashenko, who perfectly understands how all of this happened but tries to play the role of a complete clown, as if to say, I don't know why Putin decided to withdraw from Belarus and went to Ukraine. It's his decision. After all, it was Lukashenko who brought his troops in, and he can withdraw them wherever he wants. At the same time, he expressed readiness to normalize relations with the West, but once again accused the West of imposing sanctions against everyone, including his younger son Nikolai. Alexander Lukashenko is ready to release political prisoners. This is the first time he has officially acknowledged their existence. Something is happening, but for now, it seems like a zigzag. This is not a readiness to negotiate. There is no serious compromise or willingness to come to an agreement, but the very indicator that it has already started to zigzag. It is already quite indicative. Meanwhile, the publication Politica has reported that 7 countries opposed the immediate invitation of Ukraine to the North Atlantic Alliance. The focus is primarily on the United States, Germany, Slovenia, Slovakia, Spain, Belgium, and Hungary. And that the United States and Germany are doing this openly, like Hungary and Slovakia, while the other 3, Slovenia, Spain, and Belgium, are currently silent, but will also oppose. This information has already been denied by the office of President Zelensky. However, the mere publication of this information certainly deserves attention, primarily because it has, so to speak, serious sources. The publication Politica has its serious sources, but truthfully, officially, of course, no one has confirmed this information. The BBC, which spoke with the acting Deputy Secretary General of NATO, German Boris Ruge, also found out that NATO is still ready to provide Ukraine with a membership plan. However, he refused to answer when this would happen. He also stated that Putin's plans involve turning Ukraine into a gray zone. Here we did not hear anything new from him, to be honest. And finally, the last piece of information. The head of Ukrainian military intelligence, Kirilo Budanov, warns that actions, rallies, and provocations are being prepared in major cities of Ukraine, including Kiev, Odessa, Dnipro, and others, directed against the military political leadership of the country, as well as the special services. People who are willing to participate in these events are being offered money to create a narrative, as he stated, to polarize society and create tension within Ukraine. Who wants to organize such rallies, though he did not specify? These are our news, friends, for today. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe to the channel, like, share, and comment on the broadcast. Don't forget to recommend the video to friends and acquaintances. Take care, friends. Wishing you a calm and quiet evening. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the armed forces of Ukraine. Glory to the Ukrainian Special Forces. This was Major of the Ukrainian Army Taras Berezovets. Friends, until we meet again. Bye-bye.